In the 1920s, there was this theoretical physicist who, well, he barely even combed his hair, right?
Right, yeah. Wild hair is iconic.
Yeah, and he famously refused to wear socks. He basically lived entirely inside his own head. But the same guy was getting mobbed in Hollywood like an A-list movie star.
Oh, totally. Like royalty.
Exactly. Everyday people who had, absolutely no idea what theoretical physics even was were treating him like a global icon. So today we are unpacking the paradox of Albert Einstein.
It is such a wild paradox,
It
too.
really is. And for you listening, we're looking at a really fascinating biographical excerpt today, alongside a pretty comprehensive collection of his most famous, witty, and profound quotes.
Yeah, some really incredible quotes in there.
Right. And the mission for this deep dive is to basically pull back the curtain on that whole popular, bumbling professor cliche.
Because there's so much more to him than that.
Yeah, exactly. We want to uncover the deeply philosophical mind of a man who literally changed the fundamental nature of reality. And we'll explore his views on imagination, the human condition, and, well, his pretty stark warnings about the dangers of technology.
Yeah, those warnings get pretty heavy.
They really do.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we all know the wild hair and the math equations, but the actual man revealed in these sources is far more complex than the caricature.
But without a doubt. I mean, the contrast between his public persona and his internal intellectual life is, well, it's one of the most fascinating aspects of his story.
Yeah.
The biographical text actually compares his level of fame to Charlie Chaplin's character, the little tramp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was instantly recognizable. He was just as familiar to everyday people on the street as he was to these wealthy matrons hosting high society salons, from Berlin all the way to Hollywood.
Just casually hanging out in salons.
Right. And he traded stiff ties and formal wear for mothy sweaters and sweatshirts.
The mocky sweaters.
Yeah, just tossing off witty aphorisms and playful doggerel. And he viewed all that celebrity hoopla around him with this sort of, I don't know, humorous detachment.
He didn't take it too serious.
Not at all. He jokingly called himself a Jewish saint or an artist's model. He was fully aware that he was a cartoonist's dream come true.
A cartoonist's dream, yeah.
Oh,
And that casual, almost goofy exterior is such a strange wrapper for a mind that was capable of just dismantling classical physics.
totally.
Because the text points out something incredible. He discovered that the universe was not as it seemed merely by thinking about it.
Bravely by thinking, yeah.
Like, he didn't have access to massive particle accelerators,
Or space
telescopes.
No, none of that.
He essentially just sat in a patent office and imagined things. And the leaps he made with pure thought were so audacious that they completely baffled his peers.
We really did.
Yeah.
I mean, the late Richard Feynman,
Oh, yeah, Feynman.
who is widely considered one of the most brilliant physicists of the modern era, right?
Hmm.
Even Feynman marveled at the daring of general relativity.
What did he say again?
Feynman admitted, quote, "I still can't see how he thought of it."
Wow. I still can't see how he thought of it.
Yeah. When another certified genius looks at your work and cannot reverse engineer your thought process,
You're on a different level.
you are operating on a completely different plane. Einstein masked that revolutionary mind behind an engagingly simple exterior.
Well, I want to look closer at that simple exterior, though, because I'll offer an analogy based on one of his quotes from our sources.
Okay, lay it on me.
Einstein famously asked, "If a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, of what then is an empty desk?"
Ah, I love that quote.
Right. It's a funny
Wow.
defense of being messy, but it makes me wonder, was his casual aesthetic, the mothy sweaters, the lack of socks, the messy desk, was it really him just being a disorganized guy? Or was it a highly calculated rejection of anything that distracted him from pure thought? Like, was he treating societal norms like irrelevant background noise?
Framing it as cognitive load management makes a lot of sense.
Right.
He believed in ruthlessly eliminating the non-essential. Wearing socks, matching a tie, maintaining a pristine desk.
All that stuff takes brain power.
Exactly. Those things demand decision-making energy. By abandoning arbitrary societal rules, he freed up mental processing power for the universe's most complex problems.
So it wasn't just him being lazy?
No, it wasn't carelessness at all. It was intentional prioritization.
I love that. And Einstein's refusal to accept arbitrary societal rules like matching socks was the exact same mental muscle he used to refuse Isaac Newton's arbitrary rules about absolute time and
Oh,
space.
that's a great connection.
Which perfectly brings us to how he pulled the rug out from under perceived reality.
Yeah.
We hear the term relativity all the time, but the sources emphasize how dense the actual science was.
Extremely dense.
Yeah. There's a great anecdote about the British astrophysicist Arthur Eddington.
Oh, the three people joke.
Yes. Someone asked Eddington if it was true that only 3 people in the world understood relativity, and Eddington paused and cracked. I'm trying to think who the third person is. It's so good. And it was notoriously difficult because it demanded a complete rewiring of human intuition.
How so?
Well, before Einstein, the Newtonian view was that time was a universal clock, just ticking away in the background, exactly the same for everyone, everywhere.
Just a constant tick, tick, tick.
Right. And space was just an empty stage where events happened.
But Einstein realized that the speed of light is the universal constant, not time.
Right. And to explain how that works, simply, well, if you accept that the speed of light must remain exactly the same for all observers, regardless of how fast they're moving, then something else has to give.
Something has to bend.
Exactly. Time and space have to bend to accommodate the speed of light.
Okay, so give me an example.
So if you are traveling in a rocket ship close to the speed of light, time actually slows down for you compared to someone standing still on Earth.
Which is just mind-bending to think about.
It really is. Time is not absolute. It's relative to your speed.
And then general relativity took that even further by redefining gravity. Yeah, instead of gravity being this, invisible magnetic-like pull between objects, Einstein proposed the concept of space-time curvature.
Space-time curvature.
Yeah. The classic analogy is imagining a trampoline.
Okay, a trampoline.
If you place a heavy bowling ball right in the middle of the trampoline, what happens?
The fabric sags down in the middle.
Yeah, the fabric sags. Now, if you roll a marble across the edge of the trampoline, its path curves inward toward the bowling ball.
Because it's following the dip in the fabric.
Exactly. The planets orbit the sun not because they are tethered by some invisible rope, but because the sun's massive weight is warping the fabric of space itself.
Wow.
Matter tells space-time how to curve. Space-time tells matter how to move.
So it's no wonder his peers were struggling with the tensor calculus required to prove that.
Oh yeah, the math was brutal.
But here is the historical paradox, right? If even the world's top scientists were struggling to grasp the mechanics, how did this become such a massive cultural phenomenon?
It's a great question.
You had advanced thinkers of the 1920s, the Daddyists, the Cubists, the Freudians, adopting his theories as a fitting credo.
Yeah, we connect this to the bigger picture. A purely mathematical concept became a global sensation because it validated a generation's feeling that the traditional rules of the world just no longer applied.
Ah, that makes sense.
Science historian David Cassidy is quoted in our sources explaining that relativity reflected the incomprehensiveness of the contemporary scene.
The incomprehensiveness, because everything was falling apart.
Exactly. Look at the context of the early 20th century. You have the fall of monarchies, the devastation of World War I, immense social turbulence.
So the old rules were dead.
The old rules were completely dead.
Yeah.
So when a scientist proved that even time and space weren't absolute, society kind of collectively exhaled and realized that objective reality itself was fluid.
I mean, think about how you experience time in your own life. If you are sitting in a horribly boring meeting, an hour feels like an absolute eternity.
Oh, absolutely.
But if you are on a fantastic vacation, a week just flies by in a blur. Einstein actually had a brilliant way of explaining this to everyday people.
Oh, the courting quote.
Yeah, in the text, he says, "When you are courting a nice girl, an hour seems like a second. When you sit on a red-hot cinder, a second seems like an hour. That's relativity."
It's so charming.
It is. But considering how incredibly complex the actual physics were those 1920s artists, the Cubists and the Daddyists, were they actually grasping the science, or were they simply co-opting the vibe of a shattered reality to justify their own artistic rebellions against the establishment?
I would actually push back on the idea that they were just co-opting the vibe.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, did they understand the tensor calculus? No, of course not. But did they fundamentally grasp the philosophical core of relativity? Absolutely.
Okay, how so?
Take the Cubists, like Picasso. They started painting objects from multiple perspectives simultaneously.
Oh, right. All the fragmented faces and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They were translating the idea that objective reality depends entirely on the observer's frame of reference directly onto the canvas.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it like that.
They didn't need the math. They understood the implication. Einstein gave them the ultimate intellectual foundation to break the rules of classical art.
He accidentally became the patron saint of avant-garde rebellion just by thinking differently.
Anyway, yeah.
And that brings us to his personal philosophy on how the human mind should actually be utilized. Because his quotes in this area form a really fascinating thinker's toolkit.
They really do.
He placed a massive premium on the process of inquiry over the mere accumulation of facts. One of his most famous quotes in the text is, "Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world."
What's fascinating here is how he viewed passive consumption. He actually said, the person who reads too much and uses his brain too little will fall into lazy habits of thinking.
Lazy habits of thinking.
Yeah. He didn't rely on massive data sets or rote memorization. He relied on boundless thought experiments. He valued the active struggle of problem solving.
Here's where it gets really interesting because reading these quotes, I couldn't help but think about modern computer hardware.
Oh,
Hear me out. In a computer, you have the hard drive, which just stores data, right?
right.
And you have the CPU, the central processing unit, which actually does the work, runs the logic, and solves the problems. It seems like Einstein believed the human brain should be used strictly as a CPU, like a processor for imagination and logic, rather than a hard drive for just storing facts.
That is a brilliant analogy. And he explicitly designed his workflow around that exact concept.
Did he really?
Yeah, there's a quote in the source where he says, paper is to write things down that we need to remember. Our brains are used to think.
Oh, that's perfect.
He was literally offloading his hard drive storage to paper, so his mental CPU had maximum processing power available for complex problems.
He also demanded true comprehension over academic jargon. He said, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself.
Which is so true.
Right. If your CPU has processed the information correctly, the output should be clear and simple. And he had a sense of humor about his inputs, too. He joked, the secret to creativity is knowing how to hide your sources.
It's a funny line, but it implies a deep truth about synthesis, you know?
Like combining ideas.
Exactly. He was taking inputs from everywhere, philosophy, mathematics, everyday observations, processing them, and synthesizing them into something totally new.
Yeah.
He noted, logic will get you from A to Z, imagination will get you everywhere. And crucially, he credited his persistence over his raw intelligence.
Which is surprising to hear from Einstein.
Right. He said, it's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with problems longer. That is pure CPU power. Running the calculation over and over from different angles, using imagination to test the boundaries.
It's a great framework for anyone today dealing with information overload. We don't need to memorize every fact. We just need to rigorously process what we take in. Exactly. But there is a dark side to a mind operating with that much boundless imagination.
Yeah, unfortunately there is.
What happens when that incredible CPU processes a mathematical reality that humanity isn't morally equipped to handle?
Yeah. The physics he dreamed up in his head, specifically the realization that mass and energy are interchangeable, you know, the famous E=mc².
Right.
That eventually paved the way for the atomic bomb. And this marks a profound, tragic shift in his life and philosophy.
A huge shift.
The tone of his quotes moves from playful inquiry to deep existential dread regarding war, technology, and humanity.
The quotes in this section of the text are heavy. He observed, quote, "The release of atom power has changed everything except our way of thinking. The solution to this problem lies in the heart of mankind."
This raises an important question about the limits of scientific progress. The tragic irony of Einstein is that the gentle genius who didn't care about matching his socks grew terrified of human nature.
Terrified of us.
He saw that our technological capability had vastly outpaced our moral development. We handed immense power to a species that's still prone to tribalism and conflict.
He used an incredibly stark, violent metaphor for this. He said, technological change is like an axe in the hands of a pathological criminal.
Wow.
Yeah. That is a chilling visual from a man known for his peaceful demeanor.
It reflects his belief that we cannot solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. The sources highlight his core belief regarding this imbalance.
Which quote is that?
He said, "Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind.
Oh, right.
Now, it's really important to clarify that he wasn't advocating for strict orthodox dogma there. He was referring to a robust ethical and moral framework. Yes, science tells us what is possible, but it takes morality to tell us what is right. He realized that intellect without wisdom is fatal.
Well, let's look at one of his most famous and perhaps most cynical quotes regarding that.
Okay.
He said, "Two things are infinite, the universe and human stupidity, and I'm not sure about the universe."
Such a famous line.
When I read that, I have to ask, is he just being a grumpy, cynical old man here at the end of his life? Or is this an urgent, realistic plea?
It's a desperate warning. I mean, he watched the 20th century unfold. He saw the rise of totalitarian regimes and the creation of weapons of mass destruction.
True.
So when he remarks on human stupidity, he isn't insulting people's IQs. He's critiquing our stubborn refusal to evolve emotionally and ethically. He's pointing out that our capacity to invent has become completely disconnected from our capacity to care for one another. And if we don't bridge that gap, our inventions will destroy us.
He firmly believed the next global conflict would be catastrophic. He predicted, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones."
Kelly.
And the weight of that realization led to a profound regret later in his life. The text notes, he stated, "If only I had known, I should have become a watchmaker."
A watchmaker.
Imagine the greatest scientific mind of the century wishing he had just spent his life fixing clocks in a quiet shop instead of unlocking the secrets of the universe.
He recognized the courage it takes to pursue ethics over pure advancement. He noted, any intelligent fool can make things bigger, more complex, and more violent. It takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction.
A lot of courage.
And he believed that moving in the opposite direction required a focus on the individual. He argued that every person should be respected as an individual, and that the only justifiable purpose of political institutions is to ensure the unhindered development of the individual.
So it's on us.
Exactly. The ultimate defense against the darker edge of progress is a deeply principled, questioning individual who refuses to just go along with the crowd.
He explicitly demanded that action. He said, "The world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing."
It's call for moral courage. We can't just be passive observers in a world equipped with world-ending technology.
So what does this all mean? We've journeyed from messy desks and mothy sweaters to the bending of space-time, all the way to the threat of nuclear annihilation and the desperate need for moral courage. Let's bring this all directly back to you, the listener.
Yeah, how does this apply today?
What Einstein really teaches us is how to process the world, especially right now in an age of relentless information overload and rapid technological change.
The takeaways are really clear. Use your brain as an active processor, not just a passive storage unit.
The CPU, not the hard drive.
Exactly. Value imagination and active inquiry over the blind acceptance of rigid facts. Demand true understanding. If you can't explain a complex concept simply, keep wrestling with it until you can.
And above all, prioritize your character. He urges us, try not to become just a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value.
Wow.
We have to ensure our moral compass is as sharp as our intellect.
Absolutely.
We have to fiercely protect what he called our holy curiosity. We shouldn't just scroll and consume. We must actively question the reality presented to us.
That active questioning is the only known antidote to the lazy habits of thinking he warned about. It's how we avoid the trap of collective human stupidity.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today. It's a quote from our sources that builds on everything we've talked about regarding how we perceive reality, and I want you to mull this over on your own.
Okay.
Einstein said, "Common sense is the collection of prejudices acquired by age 18.
That is phenomenal insight into how we build our worldviews.
Because we rely so heavily on our common sense to navigate the world, right? We assume the way we see things is just the objective truth.
Right.
But if Einstein is right, and your so-called common sense is really just a dusty collection of teenage prejudices, what deeply held belief about your reality are you relying on today that might be completely wrong if you actually stop to question it? If the guy who proved time and space are relative can look at his own desk and challenge the norm, maybe it's time we all take a hard look at the muddy waters of our own assumptions. Keep your curiosity holy and your desk as cluttered as you need it to be.